besties, I'm Madi.
And I'm Rylee.
And we are just two sisters who grew up watching creators like Tana Mojo and Trisha Paytas, and we love to create. And I'm a cosplayer, and I showed her my love for that. And we came here to show you and bring you that love.
We're also entrepreneurs and use a lot of our artistic passion and creativity for business. And so we haven't really had a project or an outlet where we just get to have fun. And so that's really where this podcast came from. We're two sisters who are going to be talking about topics that we think are important and more people should talk about. And we're mostly just doing this for fun. And we hope that you tune in every week. But if you don't, that's okay, because literally
no one asked.
So every week we're going to have a new topic that we think more people should be discussing. So because we're sisters and we're super tight and trauma bonded, this week's episode is our top 5 trauma bonded siblings. Okay, so my number 5 for my top 5 trauma bonded siblings is Lilo and Nani. So Lilo and Nani, growing up, I was a Stitch girly. I always loved watching Lilo and Stitch. That was one of my favorite movies. And you love it as a kid growing up because Stitch is funny. Their bond of their friendship and trying to save each other throughout it is super cute. But as I was creating this list and looking back on my favorite trauma bonded siblings, if you really think about it, Lilo and Nani are totally trauma bonded. First of all, they're orphans, so parents are gone. That's sad. Secondly, her little sister, so coming from an older sister, she's raising her little sister. That's already stressful enough. 2, her little sister's a handful. She runs around punching kids. She has a blue alien dog that causes trouble. They're getting chased by other aliens and FBI agents. So that's enough to be trauma bonded for sure.
Absolutely. Like she was getting so bullied and they were just being harassed. Like they got doxxed.
They got doxxed to the space society.
Yeah, bro. That's terrifying. Okay, so my number 5 is going to be the only one really for this that's not like fully grouped together. I'm singling out Frankie Jonas because the top 3 siblings are all famous and they have their own trauma. You know, being Disney actor children, that's enough trauma. Trauma bonded for them. Frankie Jonas left in the dark. I didn't even know they had a 4th sibling. Like, that's trauma bonded.
I feel like I only found out that there was another Jonas like 3 years ago.
Exactly. And I found out through doing this, they called him Bonus Jonas. Okay. And now now, like looking at the photos of him as an adult, no more Bonus Jonas. He's Smoking Jonas. Like, I'm a lesbian, but he looks better than the other ones. Like, they're just jealous that
when they did the Jonas Brothers show and he was left out, that was the beginning of his villain arc.
Yes, yes, his villain story arc.
I love it. So my number 4 is Erika and Kristen Titus.
Yes.
So if you haven't heard of them, they're like influencer type sisters. And I originally found, is Kristen the older one?
Kristen's the older one that does like the rotten fruit.
Yeah. I found her through the rotten fruit, but I originally started watching her videos when she lived in Utah. And so that's why she's on my list. I also live in Utah. So even though I never met her, and I think she went to BYU. So we're even like an hour or 2 away. But in my heart, we were just like a neighborhood apart. So I really like them. They're just like cute sisters. I loved the fruit cutting videos. They're also just funny and relatable. And for trauma bondedness, I mean, they're women in Utah. They went to BYU.
They did grow up Mormon.
They grew up Mormon and then they left the church and they're on the internet. So all of those, the list goes on, but those are enough to be trauma.
And it's so funny,
in my opinion.
Like while going through this, she mostly consumes Kristen's content, the older sister, and I mostly consume Erika's content, the younger sister, because she loves like K-pop and her like fashion and like anime and those kinds of things, which obviously I love. So yeah, it's just so funny that the younger consumes the younger content.
I know. And we didn't even realize that till we kind of started talking about this episode. But, you know, they got their target audience right on target.
Yep. Okay, and then my number 4 is Honey Boo Boo and Pumpkin. And Honey Boo Boo's real name is Alana, so I will say Alana. But obviously, showing icon respect for Honey Boo Boo, as she was. But that was like the photo was of her graduating college with her, and her sister was there, which is Pumpkin. But they're just trauma bonded enough through the TLC, you know, all of those things. Like, that's enough. But then their mom, Mama June, horrible. Me and my partner, both of us, she was like, we got to watch the show. So we did watch it. Rylee didn't really watch.
Yeah, that was like a spinoff just following Alana and like her sister.
And like
and the mom wasn't really in it.
She was like sometimes, and that's kind of what showed like a lot of
what was going on.
Yeah, and like how horrible she was. She took a bunch of her money, like so she couldn't go to college, and it was a whole thing. So that's trauma bonded enough. So proud of her graduating college. But yeah, that's trauma bonded enough. That's where they were my number 4.
That's a good pick.
Thank you.
Hey, quick break. Just wanted to let you know that this episode is brought to you by, well, me. When I'm not dressing up and recording this podcast, I actually run a business, and it's called Rylee Jonas Social Media Services. I work with brands, entrepreneurs, and creatives, all to help them grow their strategies, create engaged audiences, and create content that actually resonates. So if you're ready to grow your social media, check the show notes for a special discount just for you. So my number 3 for trauma bonded siblings is Anna and Elsa. And every episode we dress up as one person from our list.
Or each other's list.
So that's why Miss Girl's dressed up today.
Yes.
But the whole story, again, Disney loves their orphan origin story. So I'm pretty sure their parents get lost I haven't seen Frozen in a couple of years, but
yeah, they like die on a boat in the sea.
Yeah. And then they're left in Arendelle, and they have to figure out being like sisters and navigating being royalty. And I think early on, Elsa accidentally strikes Anna with her powers, and that's how she gets her highlight.
Yes, the little blonde moment.
A bleaching tone. Your bleaching tone. My bleaching tone. And I loved Frozen when it came out. We have little brothers who are 8 now. So when that came out, they were definitely, I don't even know if they were.
No, they weren't born.
I
was like a kid.
Yeah.
I remember making my little PS video to Frozen.
Yeah, we still went and saw that on our own. Yeah. But I remember loving Frozen because it was cute, good songs, beautiful animation. But I think what I love more is it's all about sisters. Like, yes, there's a love interest and stuff like that. But like the whole heart of the story is sisters coming together and trying to like be there for one another. I feel like Elsa presents as like stoic and kind of closed off because she doesn't want to hurt Anna, and it's not until they kind of reconcile at the end and like she opens up, they're able to like re-foster their relationship. So I think it's like a cute Disney movie, but on the real, they're very trauma bonded.
Very trauma bonded on the real. And when she froze her,
I was genuinely sad.
Crazy. Yeah, peep the TikTok for a little transition for that. But yeah, no, it's a really good one. And I feel like they did a good mix of them being stoic in their own, and they did need help, you know what I mean? Not just from a man, but from everyone. You can need help. You can be strong and still need help.
Exactly.
So I think they did a good job with that.
Me too.
Okay. My number 3 is Killua and Alluka from Hunter x Hunter. So if you haven't seen Hunter x Hunter, like it really just starts off with like a hunter exam where you get like this license. You have to go through a whole bunch of things, and it's a license where you can basically go and defeat all these like scary creatures to protect people. And the Killua brother in this, the white-haired one in that photo, he is from the Zoldyck family, and they're a family of assassins. So he's literally like 13, and he is such a baddie. But with his sister, Alluka, she is like also canonically trans and like also outcasted from her family, and so is he. And so like they really were trauma bonded with being tortured by their family, and like they just did a really good job of showing differences between them and how sometimes they had arguments and things, but they could still come together and show love for each other throughout all of the horrible shit they went through in their family. So, and that's just such a good anime overall. Like all of the trauma bondedness with so many characters, but their siblinghood was really good. So beautiful. That's why they were my number 3, kind of ranked a little bit above, because that shit hurt.
And you have to watch Hunter x Hunter's like what, 5 seasons?
Yeah, I believe so. It is like a decent amount of episodes.
It's a decent amount of episodes.
Whoever talks bad about the Chimera Ant arc, I'm coming for you. No.
And so you do have to watch pretty far into it to kind of see their relationship, but it's really worth it. Maddie got me into anime probably in like 2020 is when I think. Yeah. So you'll quickly realize there will be someone from anime on pretty much every list in this episode. But that was like the 2nd or 3rd anime I ever watched, and thank God it was, because it was one of the best ones that I've still ever seen. And so if you haven't watched it, this is me pleading to you to
highly
recommend right now. And watch the most amazing trauma bonded sibling.
Yes.
Okay, and then in between our top 5 lists, we're going to try out a new segment every week until one really sticks, one feels right, you guys really like it. But something we found as we made this list is there's also a lot of really good people that we don't want to leave out. So we're going to have an honorary mention that we're just going to quickly bring up, and a little fun activity. So for today's honorary mention of our trauma bonded siblings, we are shouting out Tia and Tamara Mowry.
Hi, your Twitches. ooh, so good. We both had it on our list originally, and we just had to break down a bunch, and break it up. And so they just didn't make it, unfortunately, but that's why they are honorary trauma bonded siblings.
They both originally began on the list, so we feel like they deserved a shout out because Twitches, that's what it was called? The Twin Witches?
Yeah.
Oh, that made me want to be a witch growing up so bad. It was so good. So had to give them a shout out.
And then our fun activity, we're going to be doing the mind reading. If you haven't seen any videos, it was on like TikTok. I think there's even card games of it where you essentially we're going to be doing it a little different. You usually just like don't say anything and you try to say the same words at the same time and connect and like say the same word at the same time, essentially. We're going to start off with saying like a topic and then we're going to like think about it, be like, okay, we have our word, 3, 2, 1, go, and see if we can think of the same word and connect our brains. Trauma-bonded siblings.
Yeah, trauma-bonded siblings. Let's see how well we can read each other's mind. Do you want to start?
Yeah, okay. We'll do one each probably.
Yeah, we'll each do one, but you can start us off.
Okay, my topic that I'll start us off with to mind read. On the topic, I'll just keep it simple and I'll say anime.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Naruto.
Hunter. Oh. Okay.
Early 2000s and that. Okay.
I'm scared.
I believe in you.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Bleach.
Yes. Yes, that was so good.
Broke a sweat on that one.
Passed.
Okay. Are you ready for mine?
Yeah.
Okay. It's hard to come up with a word. Okay.
I know.
Okay, ready?
Wait, you need to say your topic.
Oh, my topic?
Yeah. Girl.
It's going to be animals.
Animals? Okay, you have your word though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we both going to say it at the same time?
Yeah.
Okay, ready?
Yeah. 3, 2, 1.
Gecko.
Okay.
Read my mind.
I got you, girl.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Reptile. What did you say?
Peaches.
Oh. Okay. 3,
2,
1. Leopard
Custard.
gecko. Oh! No. Okay. We have this. You remember. You got this. 3, 2, 1. Crested gecko.
Oh,
yes, girl. If you don't know, those are my partner and I's geckos. Crested gecko is Custard, and then we have a leopard gecko named Peaches. She's new to the family.
But I know that they love them, so I had to give them a little shout out in the word.
Shouts out. You'll hear lots about our cats too eventually. But yeah, shouts out to the reptiles.
Had to break it up a little bit before we get to the nitty gritty.
Yep, the nitty gritty of it all.
We found for both of our lists, the top 1 and 2 were only off by like
a hair. It was
0.01.
Really hard. I kept putting them back and forth and it just never felt right. So I just had to leave it alone at some point. So in my mind, they're both number 1 to a degree.
Okay, so my number 2 was Tanjiro and Nezuko, and it's from Demon Slayer. So if you haven't seen Demon Slayer, it takes place in Japan, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, it takes place in Japan, and it's kind of like the idea of zombies, but instead of calling them zombies, they're more demons. So there's an origin demon, and if you get bitten or attacked by a demon, you then transform into a demon. And typically a characteristic of that is you lose like your ability to recognize people, make decisions. You're just kind of like a flesh-eating monster, like a zombie. But in this case, they're demons. And so this isn't giving anything away. You find this out in the first 10 minutes. But the main character, Tanjiro, you get like a close-up of his family. And it seems just like a cute family, a bunch of siblings. They're wood choppers working out in the woods. And he's only like, 12 when this begins?
Yeah, he's like maybe 12 or 13 because by the last 2 years, he's like 16. Mm-hmm. So yeah, probably 12 or 13.
So he starts off as like a child, preteen, and he comes home from getting some wood and he finds his family completely massacred, ripped to shreds, and he sees Nezuko, his sister, for a quick second, and he quickly realizes she's a demon. And so in a quick struggle, instead of her attacking him, you quickly see that she's like restraining herself and doesn't want to hurt Tanjiro. So the rest of the story is basically his whole mission is to get his sister back to her human form. And so as siblings, one, already trauma everywhere. The family being murdered, your sister is a demon, you can't talk to her, you're figuring this out on your own, you don't know who to go to, everyone, like, horrible circumstances. And
so bad.
I think I've been watching Demon Slayer since it started as well. But I picked this one as number 2 just because there's something about like his fight and his urgency for his sister that I totally relate to. Like I put myself in his shoes a lot. Yeah, I would do the same thing. And this isn't giving anything away. But in the most recent season, there was a scene where another one of the, like, they're a Hashira, which just means they're like a super baddie. Basically, they're super powerful. But he was talking to Tanjiro and saying, like, I love how you protect people, how you look out for people. And he's like, no, I help people. Yes. Like, that's what I'm glad that I can do that. But my main objective is to help and save Nezuko. Like, if you had to pick between Nezuko and civilians, he's going to choose Nezuko. And honestly, I like that he's honest. Yeah. I know that's not the morally right, or, the typical dilemma of like the train tracks or whatever. I know I want to be the right, but it's right in my heart. Okay. Yeah. So
we need more MCs that, like, because Tanjiro is one of the more pure MCs. He's so respectable to women and he's so kind, but like, yeah, down the heart, like, like he's looking out for his family, like his main people, especially a part of his crew, like the rest of them, Inosuke and everything, so.
And I feel like it's also super realistic. Like in some animes, they like lose their limbs and then 2 days later they're like back in action.
No, it takes him months, almost a year. Like,
yeah.
He gets
Yeah, they'll show him in the hospital bed for months at a time. So I'm like, okay, at least we're realistic. And they talk about years being taken off his life for how hard he fights. So also 10 out of 10 recommend that one.
And the animation is just beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
It's just so beautiful. The voice acting for both the sub and the dub, amazing. So 10 out of 10 recommend. Okay, and my number 2 is Edward and Alphonse, or Ed and Al, from Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. I'm specifically going to be talking about Brotherhood, so it's like manga based. I'm one of those, okay? Shut up. They are obviously just so trauma bonded. Again, you find this out in the first episode. In their world, alchemy, like kind of as we know in the real world, but like for them, it's like kind of more real magic, and you have to like do these circles and everything. And their mom died. She had an illness, died, and so they did one of these magic circles and basically tried to resurrect their mom. But in this world, it's like the law of equivalent exchange. So you tried to do this thing, we're going to take something from you.
Like you can't like exchange it for something of like greater value. It has to be equal. Yep. So life for a life, essentially.
Yeah. And they didn't give life for a life. So first of all, she didn't come back. She turned into this scary ass monster. Okay. And they're like children. Like you saw in the photo, that's how old they were. They were little babies. And then because of that, the entity on the other side of this like gate you see later for the equivalent exchange took all of Alphonse's body and took Ed's arm and leg, like opposite. And so in this struggle with only one arm and one leg as a child, crawled and made this magic circle in this like big body of armor to save his brother and put his soul in this armor. So up until they're like pretty much full grown adults, like up almost until they're in their 20s. So for almost a decade, close to a decade, they fight to get Alphonse's body back, and there's a war going on in their world. Like, it's just so crazy. So trauma bonded enough from the start. But their world is just already messed up. And this anime is also made by a woman. Demon Slayer was made by a woman, and Fullmetal Alchemist is made by a woman. So we really love that. Women create beautiful works. So yeah, that's why they're my number 2.
They know how to write a good
classic. Fullmetal is a classic, and I had been bothering her for so long to watch it. So she just started watching it. I would say more, but she hasn't finished watching it.
I'm about halfway through season 1, and I already love it so much.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And Al is the little one. His voice actor, whenever he's on the screen, I literally want to cry. Like, he just sounds like a little baby. He feels so sad.
So much. I mean, do not stand Vic Mignogna, the voice actor for Edward. Do not stand, but the voice acting at the time for him and like Tamaki and Oran, so good. But him, no.
So my number 1 is Katniss and Prim. So the Hunger Games I was a reader growing up, but I remember Hunger Games was one of the first trilogies or series I read that truly captivated me. Like, I remember being in the car, like reading the book, bouncing up and down because I just like could not get my nose out of it. I just wanted to read it as soon as it came out. So loved the Hunger Games, and I'm an older sister, so I remember from the very start reading the I Volunteer as Tribute. Me too, girl. Like, already, and to reflect on their trauma bondedness enough, their dad dies like years before the Reaping and the Hunger Games even happen. So again, orphaned. They have their mom, but she's like very depressed and sad about the dad. So she's like not really there. So trauma bonded from the situation at home. They live in District 12 with the Capitol, traumatizing enough. And then obviously the grand event of I Volunteer's Tribute. And so same thing, as an older sister, if my little sister who was barely eligible enough to be placed in the games was picked, 110% I'm volunteering as well. And I think growing up, because I read The Hunger Games when I was like a teenager, like 13 to 16 or something like that, I feel like she embodied things that I still find important, and like character and personality traits that I look for in myself and others. Like Katniss is brave and she's fearless and she's not afraid to do the right thing even when everybody else around her is like conforming or doing what they think is right. But I feel like doing what's right is hard when you have to, when it's like wrong in everyone else's eyes.
Yeah.
Like she's the Mockingjay.
And there's, there was a lot at stake. And like you said, she's the Mockingjay. And at first she did it just for her sister. And she knew there was, a lot of people going through this pain and a lot of horrible things. But after a while, she did learn to like take pride in it. Even if she didn't really want to, she just was like, you know what, I'm just going to go balls deep. And she just went crazy on him. And respect. That's why we all got to pull up with our braids. No, for real though, but stepping stone.
No, yeah. So the main reason I also picked them as my number one is because there would be no Katniss that we know and love today without Prim.
Yep.
Like without Prim getting picked, she would have never volunteered. She would have never won. She would have never gone on to be a rebel and lead a revolution. Yep. So that's ultimately why she's my number one. Is like Katniss again does everything for Prim up until Prim's last moment. So
yeah, this should been out forever.
No spoiler. It's been out for over a decade.
She died. But my number one is Sasuke and Itachi, and I dressed up as Anna from her list, so she dressed up as Itachi from my list. The older sibling of the two. And first of all, Naruto is just like one of my all-time favorite animes. It was like one of the first animes I really watched, and it's one of the longest animes I've watched over. I've watched it like 4 times over, all of it, the entirety. I have a sexy Jutsu Naruto tattoo. Like literally, it's the best. But Sasuke and Itachi, if you haven't watched it, they are from a clan called the Uchihas, and they live inside of the Hidden Leaf Village that this takes place in, where Naruto lives, the main character of the whole show. And Sasuke is like the main antagonist. Sasuke and Itachi, in this clan, the clan wanted to overthrow the Leaf Village and literally kill everybody else. So Itachi decided, no, I want to protect my brother, and he would rather take the tarnish to him as one individual rather than having his whole clan's name be stained with this bloodshed of trying to take out other thousands of people rather than maybe 100 or 2, which is still horrible. But you know what I mean? The Uchihas were planning something pretty evil. And he didn't want that, so he killed his own parents and his whole clan. And he led Sasuke to believe that he did this out of hatred. And he wanted Sasuke to hate him and get revenge. And so at those final moments, after years of barely seeing each other, maybe once or twice, and only knew that, to Sasuke's knowledge, he was just a horrible person. And then finally, right before he dies, reveals the fact that, that was going to happen. And he wanted to protect his brother and would rather be seen as a villain and a horrible person than let his brother die. And he took that on. And I just think that is like beyond. And the writing, this goes for hundreds of episodes. Like this is years of payoff from original Naruto to Shippuden. Like the payoff is unreal. They just did. Kishimoto is amazing.
No, that's what I was gonna say. Is I also watched Naruto, and it took me like almost a year. Granted, I was like in school. So
you were in college and
I was
stuff,
taking it kind of slow. I wasn't like binging them, but I watched Naruto and Shippuden in the course of about a year. And so for me, it felt like months of. I also hated Itachi, and I remember Maddie would tell me, "Oh, like Itachi is one of my favorite characters," and I was like, how?
You're like, what is it?
But then I still remember how I felt when I watched the episode where you get like the big reveal. And I feel like because they make it go on for so long and they have you convinced that it's one way, and then the span of like 30 minutes or an hour, your entire perspective is shifted, and
you're just
your
left
heart
with this
just
pain.
breaks.
You're left with this pain. And Itachi would do this thing when Sasuke was a little kid, when they were good, and he would like tap him on the forehead. And so right before Itachi died, he tapped him on the forehead one last time. So that's like what Sasuke was left with. And he literally said like, I will always love you. And like, oh my God. It's just so beautiful. That's like truly, that's why they were my number one. And like, not only is it just another foundational anime, but the story writing was so well done. And that's just true siblingness right up there with Katniss. You know what I mean? Like risking it all for your sibling, because that's your lifelong best friend,
Exactly. And those were our top 5.
Yep.
So before we finish, we do want to rank between our number ones.
Yeah.
Because the number ones are number ones for a reason. So out of our 2, we're going to pick the ultimate trauma bonded sibling. And while my list had Katniss and Prim, and I do think that they are the number ones of my list and I love them, why I think Sasuke and Itachi deserve to be number one is because Katniss and Prim loved each other during their entire relationship. She got to know Prim like for pretty much most of her life. So even though it's sad that Prim died at a young age and they were separated during the Hunger Games, like they still had a lot of love there between each other. Whereas I feel like with Sasuke, he hated his brother up until the last minute. And you just get this feeling of like, I wish you had more time.
Yep.
Like I wish I had more time with him. So I nominate, obviously, Itachi is number one.
Yep, I totally agree. Oh, it was so nice being able to break these out and go through them. It was so hard being able to pick all of these.
I know, it was so hard being able to narrow it down. But thank you for listening. Let us know if we missed anyone or who would be on your list. And every week we're going to give a hint on what the next topic will be. So next week is for the girls, gays, theys who deserved better. So we'll catch you next time because literally
no one asked.
Thank you.
And back again is me. I'm also here to tell you that this episode's brought to you by me. I run my small business lunar cause, so if you're ever in the SLC area and you want to grow your natural nails strong and healthy with intricate custom nail art, you'll come to me for that, of course. And you can see more information for that in the show notes below.